Okay, folks. Hi, it's Pat again, and I had a request come in. Oh, geez, now that I look at it, quite a while ago, and it's from Anyen, Anyen, and she says, "I really appreciate these videos. I'm learning so much, and I'm currently a sophomore in college. I'm thinking of taking this route as my new major, but I'm not sure how to go about it. Could you please do a video on ways to become a sales engineer? What to major or in undergrad, or what to do in graduate school, or if it matters at all, please. Would really appreciate it. Or an answer as a comment would be great as well." Well, I gave her a rather longish comment just to get back to her. And I did tell her that I would do the video. So I'm going to do the video. All right. Now, let's see. I've got my usual tool of the trade, dry board. And this is for Anyen, who was so nice and wrote such a nice note. Now, I'd really like all my videos. I don't have any, I don't have anything prepared for this video, but normally, for example, the book, I've pre-written the chapters and I'm reading the chapters, or I'm posting the chapters as text in the posts for your comments and your feedback, or, corrections, things like that. But when it comes to the videos, like about the first 7 or 8, so far, the numbered 1 through 7 or 1 through 8, those are all off the top of my head. I've been doing this so long and explaining it so long and trying to get people to understand it for so long that it just kind of comes second nature. It's kind of interesting. I can look over here at the lights, the VUs on my mixer for my voice level, without me having to actually go look at it over here. That's because it's in the video preview. Anyway, that's kind of helpful. So let's see where we're going to start here. First off, becoming a sales engineer is not something that you're going to find a bunch of people have done from scratch. This is going to be very few. You're going to find that most people come from, X, they come from a very wide variety of existing professions. And the reason that they're drawn to, or have the propensity towards sales engineering, is because it is a uniquely satisfying challenge based on a combination of several normally discrete studies or paths. We talked about this in the earlier videos. What is sales? What is engineering? Now, what is sales engineering? What's interesting is that, unlike a shoe salesman, you could be sales engineering for software, for hardware. I've done services, but not on their own. I've done services in combination with hardware and software for different companies, right? So you always have your, and I'm not talking about maintenance. I'm talking about when you install or integrate. You also typically give this kind of consulting away for a VAR, evaluated reseller, somebody who's going to be pushing your product. So anyway, it's never a straight answer. It's a very, very complicated arena. But what we do is actually quite straightforward, if you want to use a term I hate. So this is what you basically are doing. And you say, well, gee whiz, now I have to know. Well, you wouldn't say gee whiz, would you? I hope you don't say gee whiz. I have to know software. Now I have to know hardware. Now I have to know whatever services are, professional services. Is that something I started out with in college? Is that something I 12 years old, I said, I'm going to help people sell software? No. And there's a couple of things that make you want to be drawn to this. And this is actually helping answer the question about from where you're coming from, because we're talking about the kind of qualities that you're going to want to see in yourself to be able to do this. And we did talk a lot about this in the early videos about how you want to be outgoing and personable, at least on demand. And it's good that we broke this down like this, because when you think of software, what type of vertical, what type of industry, what type of software do you normally, what normally comes to mind? What are you normally thinking of? Well, you come up with as many answers watching this little video as there are different kinds or classes of software. Software is wonderful. I love writing. I write in many different languages. It's poetry to people who love it. It's poetry. And I find it very relaxing, and I really like to see something do something from nothing. So software can be either a passion of yours where you like explaining it, you like talking about it, you like to tell people about what the software that your company is selling does, you believe in the product, you evangelize, you have to be enthusiastic about it, or perhaps you're talking about a vertical that you have a personal interest in. Let's say you have a specific interest in shipping. You really love shipping, delivery, logistics. It's just something you've always found fascinating. For whatever reason, can't think of a single college course that might have that as a minor or major, but for whatever reason, it was something that you stumbled across perhaps in advanced studies under or overgraduate. And you really got into this whole thing about shipping and stuff, logistics. How does it work? I mean, really, it's absolutely stunning how fascinating it actually is. When you consider that Frito-Lay basically gave Walmart the model that makes Walmart so efficient. In other words, Frito-Lay was the first to say, there's no empty trucks. So that truck going from point A to point B had better be filled with something. And so what they would do is they would say, well, okay, here's the factory, and here's our little storefront that we have here. And this is our factory, the big old factory. And they would say, okay, fine. We're going to go ahead and put this truck out, and it's going to take Fritos to this place. And, you know, it drops it off at your local convenience store and everything's fine. On the way back, they would say, we don't pay gas for empty vehicles. So you're going to pick up and ship from person A, from person B, whatever they need from this rough geographical area, and you're going to bring it to perhaps another. And your stop may involve a layover here where you're actually taking something from C and D and dropping it off over here. So there's never an empty truck. While Walmart is shipping, let's say, snow shovels up north, it is moving clothes for autumn south or whatever is needed. So that their trucks are constantly going north and south, moving products. So let's say, for example, your oh my goodness, is getting into a lecture about logistics. So anyway, let's just say if you don't sell enough shovels in Michigan, they move the excess. You're not throwing away shovels. And that's why you seldom see things at really breakneck prices like you do in smaller stores, because they know they can get good money for them in another place. Okay, enough of that. When you really dig into some of these things that you thought were boring, I guess they can be kind of interesting. So let's say we have shipping as our big deal. And I'm just using shipping because really this involves freight, air, land like train, sea, all kinds of different things. So in shipping, there's a bunch of different software products that do different things. Who cares what they are? They just are. And so the people that are here are interacting with one or more of these software products. Well, remember, you've come in not from somebody who really likes software, but somebody who's, maybe you came from the shipping industry. Maybe you were one of these users here and you had a great experience or you had a bad experience. And you can walk in here, even if the rep just got you in front of somebody, you can stand there and talk the talk. You know every single term, industry slang, you know everything about what these people are doing in their day-to-day job. And as we talked about before, people don't care about your features. What they care about is, do you understand my problem? Because if you understand the problem and you understand the pressure and the situation and the requirements and everything else, then you can only come up with suggestions that will be constructive and useful and not a waste of their time. That's why people prefer to have you understand the problem thoroughly. And they don't mind explaining it, but if you came in and you said, hey, what's shipping? No, not like that. They might explain which software packages they're using. And if you're still lost, you're just not going to make a good impression, right? You have to be able to talk intelligently about what you do. So if you came at sales engineering as a software person or an industry expert or a subject matter expert, as it's more often called today, a subject matter expert that used to be a consultant for this company or used to be a manager at this company or a technical person or an IT person or whatever it was, you can come in and say, you know, I've got software X, and I think software X is really going to do a great job for you. And I know that because your problems are X, Y, and Z. You're trying to solve them with A, B, and C. And I know that this particular product, let me show it to you, can nail it for you. No more risk, no more letting them decide whether or not you're good enough or not, or it's going to work, or it's worth the money. As a sales engineer, you have an extraordinarily powerful position in the sale. But it's because either you thoroughly understand the programming languages being used, and you understand programming to the extent that you just looked this software up for some reason, found a manual for it, and just absorbed it. That's what I usually do. I'm not an expert in anything. I just absorb a manual. So overnight, I can do 300, 400, 500 pages, and don't get me wrong, I have a big hard drive, but I have very little RAM. So I can remember these kinds of things over a short period of time, just like cramming for a test. And it doesn't matter if I remember it for a long period of time. I'm only going to have an hour, maybe an hour and a half, right? So I prefer to have somebody who's a subject matter expert come in because, again, they don't care what language, the buyers, that is, not the users, but or the business analysts or the IT people. They don't care about the language it's written in. They care about, do you understand my problem? So if you're asking me how to become a sales engineer, I would suggest that just like job hunting, you figure out the perfect company. You figure out the target companies that you want to work for. You figure out their line of work, however you want to do it. If it's, I work for companies all over the world. I work right now, I live in New England. I work right now for a company in the Netherlands. You don't have to be local to companies because they sell everywhere. If you're talking about a company that only sells in their own city, then you're probably not working for the kind of company that can turn over the kind of revenue that you're looking for, that they can afford a sales engineer, right? So I strongly suggest you determine, first of all, what the ideal company is. So let's say our first thing is ideal company. And you know, it's really weird. This sounds just like what I called the perfect prospect in the earlier videos, right? You're looking for somebody to buy you, to pay for you. That's selling. It's no different, right? You'd pick out your prospect. You'd say, my perfect prospect is going to be a company of this many million or billion. It's going to have this many employees. It's going to have an IT staff and a development staff with a certain ratio to salespeople. Boy, have I seen some bizarre ratios and what happens as a result. So you find your target companies, 5, 10, however you like to work, and maybe they're companies that you picked because you were in a shipping company. Now, remember I said just simply being savvy in software isn't going to be enough to convince somebody that you can help them specifically at a shipping company, right? There's more value in a subject matter expert than there is in somebody who knows just the software and has no idea what shipping is. This is actually quite strange for me to say because the current role that I'm in now, and I'm W-2ing, is in a field that I came out with no experience whatsoever, none. But I'd done these videos and I'd done training and instruction on how to be a sales engineer and how to be effective at it and how to absorb the technology quickly. And software is just software, and that's where you're going to make your money, okay? I mean, you really are talking about software. So this company, this ideal company, just happens to be a shipping company. They don't make software. They consume, they use it, they pay for it. I work for a software company that sells software to, in my case, financials. Okay? Guess what? It's still software. It still runs on a computer. I can still, in the languages that I write, I can write demos for it and prototypes and load simulators and front ends and all that stuff. Why? Because, well, in this case, it's written in VB.net, but I just am very comfortable around these languages. So I come from a variety, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, a variety of companies that sold. Each one was just 180 degrees. Imagine how many 360s that is from each other as far as what they sold. But they all had something in common. They all needed someone to help out their sales reps when it came time for demoing and conveying confidence. And that's what sales engineers do. So if you come ready to go as an expert in a field, you might not even have been in sales here. We have a sales engineer at my current company that is a subject matter expert that doesn't have the computer programming skills, anything like that, but she knows the talk, right? So she conveys that confidence to them. She's learning the software and how to use it, but from their point of view as a user. And that'll probably do quite well. So that's my preferred way to have you come in as a sales engineer. If you're like me, I just had a lot of experience with a lot of different companies, and I came at it as being just a good SE. Well, if you're talking about becoming a sales engineer, you can't wait for this. So you're probably already, you might not be technical at all. You might have a degree in something like shipping. There's probably a shipping degree out there. I just don't know. So my recommendation is if you are just getting into things, don't have under your belt a lot of career choices that have been in line with each other, building on each other, this foundation, this consistency, right? I've had the same job over 20 years. Then it might be difficult for you, even though I've come from a wide variety of companies that sold crazily different things. I was a sales engineer the whole time. And that's what really matters. And I even have to explain that sometimes to people that are interviewing when I say, how hard could it be? So if you're talking, Anyen, hopefully I'm saying that right, about how to become a sales engineer, you probably won't find a university like mine that's legitimate, because mine isn't legitimate. But it sounds more from your email, from your text, that you're thinking about a major or a minor. Well, here's what I would do. I would find something you really love. Anything. So let's take shipping out of here, and let's put. Hey, come on, we got colors here. Thanks, Expo. Let's put Anyen's dream company. Now that's her ideal company, right? She's looking for a company in biopharmaceuticals or something. She's not saying, hey, anybody want to hire somebody who feels like being a sales engineer? she has no experience in it. Again, if she's an SME at her thing, then any company, including perhaps the company that she starts to work out at as analyst, as researcher, as whatever that may be, coming in with whatever her degree can get her, then she will be perfectly situated. She can talk to the people that are selling their product, their company. What sells your product? Is it technology related? Is it software? Or is it just more physical? What are the kind of people that use our product? What do they do to use it? In this case, we had software that needed to interface with the core business, just happened to be shipping. But there's GPS, there's logistics, there's vehicles, there's analytics, there's a ton of things around shipping. Well, guess what? There's a ton of things around everything. If you can find the ideal company, I like this idea because if you change your mind, and you haven't even got your undergraduate degree, you're going to change your mind, then you're already working at or targeting in your network, you're actively networking and trying to find the right people, a place or at least a career, a line of work that you already love. So you're not putting yourself through a lot of hell just to get to a point where you say, well, thank goodness now I can go and look for jobs at a company that does what I like. And the reason why is because everybody's selling, like we've always said, everybody's buying, and everybody needs help buying things that are complicated. Her ideal company, if she is into widgets, if she wants to follow a technology career, which is where you make the money, only second to sales, and remember, you're helping sales, so SEs can become salespeople, or, God forbid, the merging of a sales rep and a sales engineer into some kind of quasi role, which unfortunately I see incorrect whenever I see it, then you have the ability to create value within your own company. Let's say, for example, you don't have anybody out there helping your salespeople. When I started at Sprint, it was I was a company that was bought out by them, but when I started working for Sprint, I worked up in an office where, up on the 19th floor, top floor, they couldn't figure out what they wanted me to do. And so I said, where do you want to sit? We got half the cubes here are empty, and that's obviously because they weren't doing the business. You can have a window seat wherever you like. And I took a beautiful window seat overlooking the river and everything. I thought, this is great. Floor to ceiling windows, awesome. And I sat there for like a week. And I said, this is crazy. Somebody's going to notice. So what I did was I took the crappiest seat in the place. And I stopped dressing like I am now, right, in a polo. I sat right next to the door where I could see everybody coming in and out. The only person closer to that door was reception, and they were never there. So I got a chance to let people in, say hello. But more importantly, every time a sales rep was getting up and getting ready to go, and they were always dressed nice, I saw them. And I said, this was 1998 through 2002, about a 4-year period. And I'd say, hey, can I come with you? Do you mind if I tag along? Oh my goodness, they refused. They didn't want anybody in there messing things up. They didn't want anybody, nobody to drag along to mess things up. So I started giving these lunch and learns, or whatever you want to call them, where once a week on Mondays at lunch, because I knew everybody was in on Mondays, I would give a topic for 15 minutes, and everybody would have a lunch, or they'd order out. I had the manager do either. If people wanted to have sandwiches from downstairs, we had a little cafeteria. And for the first 15, 20 minutes of a half-hour period, so everybody could just, have time to themselves, while they were eating, I would be up on a dry board giving them a how-to, primer, call it what you like, a presentation about what they were selling. What do you mean? So, they were selling things like, back then, backup SANs, NAS, bandwidth, of course, with Sprint, dark fiber, light fiber, things like that, metropolitan switching, sonnet, that kind of jazz. And so I would pick a topic and I would give a talk about it. And I would say, here's this and here's this. I wouldn't even interact like I do normally and pull questions out of them because they're sitting there eating the sandwich, right? So I would slowly get them to come over and start asking me questions. Hey, Pat, I've got this thing they want to sell, and I'm not sure. And mind you, they had rows of those 3-ring binders that are like 5 or 6 inch binder wheels of how to sell the product, all the different choices. It was insane the way Sprint did things. And I would either help or find out, or I'd know off the top of my head how to answer questions with them. So eventually I started to kind of hang out at somebody's desk, and he would say, hey, could you hang out? And we'd have a call, and I would just listen, and I would make notes, maybe pass notes over. And this led to, it took probably 3 months. I mean, I'm saying that really conservatively. It may have been, it certainly wasn't everybody at once, right? Hey, I'm going to so-and-so for a sales call. You want to tag along? And that's why I was sitting there. I was sitting there because I wanted to be visible, I wanted to be available, and I wanted to be useful. And so they started taking me out on sales calls. And that was how I got from, they didn't know what in the world I was doing there, to a very valuable player, where now they could say 6 months, a year later, what's he doing down there as part of this acquisition? Well, he's actually quite useful. He's helping everybody out. That was how that started. And then I expanded the position that I did into doing more formalized presentations, documentation on the products. But I focused on what was important to them. So at your dream job, nobody's going to come up to you and say, hey, would you love to be a sales engineer? It's not going to happen. You have to create the demand, just like if you're trying to sell yourself. So you get with your ideal company and you make yourself useful and known, right? It's no good if you're the best kept secret in the company. That's not going to help. So my suggestion to you, Anyen, is always, 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 if you have a choice, do what you love. Get involved with companies that are doing things that you'd want to work there no matter what you were doing. And if that field of sales engineering, as you're going through your internships and such through college, and your major and minor do align, then you're already in the perfect position. So it's like now you have the opportunity to get lined up with the perfect job, the perfect career, the perfect everything that makes you happy. And if it takes you to sales engineering, fine. If it doesn't, fine. You don't know enough yet about that career and where you're going to work to even say that sales engineering is what you're going to do. And I think this is why there's no sales engineering college degrees out there. If there are, I'd love to know. So I hope that answered your question. I hope it didn't sound too confusingly frustrating. But it's a big world out there, and it has lots of moving parts, and there's value everywhere. And as a very wise sales rep once told me, he said, yeah, times are tough. Nobody's got any money. Nobody wants to spend anything. But good people are always in demand. See you next video.